It's the 18th of July. And yes, it's the summer. And this is The View from a Pew, live today with Dr. Nate Noble on KTIA, Iowa.
Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here.
Let's get it started in here.
Welcome to The View from a Pew, a conversation among Christians who are out to grow their faith by asking the simple questions, the tough questions, and the stuff you really wish your pastor would talk about. Come on now, let's reason together. It's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so join the conversation. Call 855-244-0077. That's 855-244-0077. Now, here's your host, J. Michael McCoy.
All right, good afternoon. 4 minutes after the hour on this 18th day of July in the Lord's year 2014. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and this is the Friday edition of The View from a Pew. Of course, usually Maddie Smith is here, and that's always fun. And usually Bob Montserrat is here, and there's a lot of wisdom. And with both of those gone, I guess we have no wisdom and no fun. But we have the voice.
I'm plenty of fun and a lot of wisdom.
Oh, you are? Okay. All right. Frank is here with us today, of course, being produced by who we now call the California Kid. Yeah, so I get a call like about a week ago, and my producer, my partner, says, oh, by the way, I'm going to California for the next week. Well, he had done everything proper about making sure that all his shows and shifts were covered, but I had no idea. Ryan, you going to tell him where you were? You going to tell him what you did in California? You went swimming with the whales?
No, not swimming.
You said you were swimming with the whales.
But that was in the ocean.
You were in the ocean, though.
Yeah, we went whale watching, though.
You went whale watching?
Yeah.
What'd you see? Did you see any whales?
Yeah, humpback. It was pretty sweet.
All right, good. Well, it's nice to have you back. My special guest today is Dr. Nate Noble. He is part of Unity Point, right? And what kind of doctor are you?
I do developmental pediatrics and clinical genetics.
Okay. And I've never met Nate before, literally 2.5 minutes ago. But Nate comes highly recommended from a group of guys that I like to hang around with, and those are the Men of Hope. In fact, a guy who I just love to pieces loves you to pieces, and that's Brent Westerman.
Oh.
And Brent's in my Wednesday morning Bible study.
Oh, yeah.
And are you in Brent's Friday morning group with Ed?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so Nate spoke at a Men of Hope function a couple months ago, and I was unable to make it, and rave reviews. And so I asked Nate to come in today and do ask the pastor questions, even though he isn't a pastor with a capital P. I can pretty much assure you from what I've heard that you would be considered a pastor with a little p. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah. I'm not sure I would use that descriptor, but
Okay.
yeah, for these purposes, sure.
You honor God,
Yes.
follow Jesus,
Yes.
and serve others.
Yes.
Yeah, then you're okay in my book.
Yes.
So what we've got here is we've got a list of questions, and none of them are trick, okay? There really are no wrong answers. What it helps us do is it helps us determine where you come theologically. The idea is we'd love to have you back. We'd love to have you back on a regular basis. And this way we kind of know what topics are yours and where you would come from on those topics. So they're really easy, and I'll give you the first one. Well, they're not all easy, but here's an easy one to start out. Are you the son of a risen king or a sinner?
Son of a risen king.
Okay. So you have no sin in your life.
Well, I think it's a matter of perspective. One of the things that I enjoy doing most in the clinic is, maybe not a novel term in these circumstances, but it's reframing. Because, certainly Christianity represents a dichotomy. Am I a sinner in the sense that do I break God's law that would lead me to on His path of fullness? Yes. Am I to see myself through that lens in the shadow of the cross of the risen King who has died once for all? No.
No.
So while both are true, I think the beauty of Christianity is that we have a choice, and I choose to see myself not in light of my sin, but in light of my Savior, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Now, I have many people that answer that question, yes. Are you the son of a risen king, or are you a sinner? Yes. Mm-hmm. And they'll say, I am both and not one without the other. And I say, well, you have to choose. And they all do what you just did. And they said, well, then I'm a son of a risen king.
Yeah.
But if anybody were to hear in that I have no breaking of God's law, just what you said.
Right.
Can't say that. Okay. I love this question. Are you a spiritual being having a human experience, or a human being having a spiritual experience? Spiritual being having a human experience, or a human being having a spiritual experience?
Here's what I'll tell you, and this may not answer your question. If I had to define one goal that I have, if you were to come to my clinic, and I was going to help you understand how to become a physician, if you are a resident. What I teach residents and what I emphasize in the clinical experience is that, my goal as a teacher to you is not to give you answers. It's not to get you to tell me the answer to my question. The difference between you and me is that I know what questions to ask. Because life to me it's not about answers, it's about questions.
Okay, agreed.
And as I listen to the question, I'm sure there's importance on both sides of it. I just to be honest with you, I don't see what it matters.
Okay, let's look at it from a biblical standpoint.
Sure,
Do you think the Bible says in any way that I was alive as a spirit before God put me into the human form? I mean, the Bible says that I blew life into you. Mm-hmm. So does that mean that I didn't exist spiritually before God blew breath into me, blew air into me, blew life into me? Or did I exist somewhere with God, and he took that spirituality that would last for eternity, put it into a human body for 1 minute and 100 years? Who knows?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a fair question. My fear is that I won't be able to speak to that intelligently because I don't know by answering it what would bring me closer to. Does that make sense?
Sure. Sure. I think a lot of people who want to hear the unpacking, maybe not the answer, but the unpacking of that question are closer to a 5-point Calvinist.
I see what you're saying.
If I was foreknown,
sure.
He foreknew me, therefore predestined, then I must have been something in his mind, in his eye, in his heart, before I had an earthly form. Mm-hmm. So, all right, move on to the next one. Yes or no? Is tolerance the characteristic of a man with no convictions? Is tolerance the characteristic of a man with no convictions? I mean, we're always told as Christians we need to be more tolerant. We need to have more love and more grace and more mercy and more forgiveness. And we need to be tolerant of those who are unbelievers or who want to break God's law just to make themselves happy.
When I hear you ask the question, my sense is, I think that I would think about it depending on which stage of my spiritual journey that I've been in. If I look back on my last 10 years, I'd probably answer that different ways at different times. I think in my life I've become very unsettled with individuals, maybe we'll just to say myself, with my choice to not achieve, grow towards, accept, adhere to God's potential from my life in the sense that, I find that the greatest mistake that we make, at least that I'm tempted to make, is not that is not to hold myself accountable to the sin that I've committed. It's to hold myself accountable to the greatness that God has planted inside of us, all of us, every human being. I mean, I see kids in my clinic that may not have the exact same potential as you, but they have potential. And in our clinic, we dedicate ourselves to one thing and one thing only, and that's the relentless pursuit of potential in the life of everybody.
I like that.
It's not just kids.
Yeah.
And I think that in that pursuit, there has to be a level of tolerance.
Sure.
Because how could I stand being in this room with myself?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't bring, for me, it doesn't bring me closer to the flame of the Spirit in my life. It doesn't draw me into the sun of this warm God who loves me if I'm intolerant, not just of, sin in our culture or our soft, kind of stances on certain biblical issues, but it doesn't bring me closer to this loving heart of God if I refuse to be tolerant of the fact that I'm falling forward. I'm fallen, and people need to be tolerant of that. God tolerates me. That's not the right way to say it, because, he loves me, accepts me. He tolerates me like I tolerate my kids. That's not the right way.
I know what you're saying.
But I'm thankful. But so I would say I'm in a place right now in my life when I would say that I don't think that tolerance is the mark of a person without conviction. I think that tolerance in the right way and in the right time, and not that I'm trying to define what that is for people, can potentially be a hallmark of wisdom.
Frank, you were going to ask something?
Yeah, I just ask, there's kind of a dilemma, I guess I would call it, among certain churches, whether they want to focus on the love of God as the message, condemnation as a message, or something in between.
Right.
Do we point out sin?
Yep.
Do we only talk about God's love without talking about the consequences of rejecting God's love?
Yes.
And I think that's probably, to me, what the question speaks to.
Yep. And a mentor, Ed Nichols, taught me this. You can always tell somebody the truth and not love them. Always. It's easy. It's the truth. But you can never love someone and not tell them the truth.
You can never love someone and not tell them the truth.
Yeah.
But you can always tell somebody the truth and not love
And
them.
not care a thing about them.
That's good.
And so, again, it's a dichotomy. It's a both and. Every time in my spiritual journey when I have tried to draw a hard line in the sand, and I'm not trying to say that there are not lines that need to be drawn, like, no question. But every time I've tried to draw a line in the sand, is it too, like, are we just too, love, not that you can be too love of God or, hate of sin. Every time I've allowed myself to get pulled in one way or the other, I never end up closer to the truth, ever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Anytime that this resentment and anger rises up in me about somebody doing or not doing something, right? And most times it should be myself. It just never gets me closer. I mean, Christianity was described as the third way for a reason.
Yeah.
Right? If we looked at the third way in our culture, well, what would it be? It wouldn't be Democrat, wouldn't be Republican. It'd be the third way.
Yeah.
So it's like Jesus Christ lived in such a way that you couldn't pin this guy down. Like he was, and now not in an evasive way, but like hey, I want to put you in a box. Do you hate Caesar? Well, whose face is on the coin?
Yeah.
You're not answering my question, right? Because I'm not going to let you do that.
Yeah, I'm not going to let you.
I refuse to let you box me up. And when I hear these kinds of discussions, I think they're fair questions on both sides of the coin. But if Jesus wouldn't let people to put him in a box, I don't know that it's my job to jump in one.
Well, and humans, flesh, want to be in a box.
Ah, it's true.
We want to belong to something.
Yeah.
And so we choose the thing that is the most tolerant of what we agree or the least unlikely of what we don't.
Agreed.
Dr. Nate Noble is our guest today. We've gone through a couple of the questions. We appreciate you listening. When we come back, who is he? Who is this guy that sits here before us on The View from a Pew? A little bit about him, his life, his passion, and his walk when we come back. I'm J. Michael McCoy. And if I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. Love this job. Couldn't do it without you on KTIA, Iowa.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling. We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
Yes, now your favorite programs on Webcast One Live can all be watched and listened to on any Android or Apple device, your phone, tablet, or iPad. Yes, your favorite shows on Webcast One Live are available live or on podcast wherever you go. Let me introduce to you some of our great shows.
Shalom! Every week on Understanding the World with Rabbi David Kaufman, we'll talk about issues in the Middle East, issues related to the Jewish tradition and religious traditions in general, and keep you up to date on exactly what's going on around the world. You may know some of the story, but you haven't heard all of the story until you've heard it on Understanding the World with Rabbi David Kaufman and our special guests we have on every week.
Hey, this is Doc with Doc and Lefty. I want to tell you about our brand new time slot. It's from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. It's on the same night, Tuesdays. We now follow Ed Fallon and the Fallon Forum on webcast1live.com. I want to tell you a little bit about our show. Our show is focused on local, state, and national, and sometimes international politics. We like to keep people updated and informed. We also have very interesting guests. So please join us every Tuesday from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. on webcast1live.com.
So when you want to watch your favorite Webcast One program, remember, there's an app for that. You know, there's an app for that.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
We've got questions. You've got the answer. Join the conversation. It's your voice we want to hear. So call 855-244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
21 minutes after the hour on this, the 18th day of July. And did we break the record last night, or we tied the record for
cool
evening?
I don't know if we broke the record, but it was quite cool.
It was 1931 that it got to whatever it was, and we were either supposed to tie that or get below that. Now you watch, okay? 30 days from today, when the state fair is romping out there, it's going to be 101 with 100% humidity. Unbelievable. If you don't like the weather, stick around. It always changes in Iowa, and we're glad to have it. I'm Mac. I'm here. Frank's here. Ryan's producing. Our special guest today is Dr. Nate Noble, who is a pediatrician.
Yep, that's it.
At Unity Point, Blank Methodist Hospital. So where are you from? Where's home? Where were you born and raised?
I grew up in Milford, Iowa, northwest corner of the state.
And what made you want to be a doctor?
Well, I came from, I think good, strong family, smart parents, but didn't necessarily have the opportunities to go to college. And my dad is a farmer. My mom did several things. And I decided at some point that the family business wasn't going to be for me. And I knew that, as I was talking earlier, I think that I grew up with this sense of urgency to fulfill my potential, to whatever it was. Okay. And that led me to pursue this, to go as far and as fast as I could in academics, and that's the path that I chose.
Were you raised in a church?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So where does your spirituality come from? I mean, let me back up. Does it come from the pews, or does that give you religion? Does your spirituality come from your personal relationship with Christ, or did that also come from the pews?
Here's what I'll tell you. I grew up, I think, as many of us do, with this with this rather innate sense of that there's a way to live. That's not always entirely clear, but I grew up believing that was true. And I grew up knowing that the Bible was going to be something that needed to be dealt with in my life. I was going to have to deal with this book to some degree, but to say that I was in a vibrant relationship or that I knew what that meant, that would be no. And then certainly I think I came into the fold, I think, in college. And so I would say that it wasn't necessarily from the pews per se. I think that I wasn't pushed away. I know many people have been. That has not been my experience. The church has always been a light and a hope and a safe place, but nothing penetrated until Jesus had to do business with me. He had to take me outside.
When Jesus took you outside, was it a crock pot or was it a
Nope.
microwave?
I got hit by a bus.
Really?
Yep. I walked out in the middle of, in essence, the spiritual road, and I got nailed. And I walked back, and that was never the same.
Can you
Ever.
share that? You don't have to if it's uncomfortable.
No, it's not that. It's because the danger there is that, hey, this was my experience, so this must have been yours. And I like how you say it. Is it right away or was it over time? Because a lot of folks it's over time. But I think when you're dealing with personalities like mine, like it has to be dramatic, right? If you want my attention, you need to get my attention, because I'm not like you can. It's people have different ways they're wooed in essence, and Jesus and a lot of times in the biblical stories, you have choices on how to enter a building, front door or back door. He tended to go in through the front door, and I like that about him. It's like, I'm here. I'm not trying to hide. I'm not trying. Don't smuggle me out of town. I'm here. Let's do this. And so he came in my life that way, swinging. And I got nailed, got up. I was, entrenched in fraternity life. I was the president of a fraternity. I was a medical major. I was vehement. I was every drop a Pharisee. Every drop. Like, I didn't drink, didn't smoke, no sex, nothing. Because I was going to be a doctor. Nothing was going to stop me. But then I got hit by this bus of spirituality of Christ, and that started down a long journey that's led me here.
I'll get you in a second. Was it that moment that you received the Holy Spirit, or did that come later?
I would say difficult for some reason. That's difficult for me to answer, but I would say the fruits of the Spirit became evident to me not long thereafter.
Okay, Frank, go ahead.
Well, that was kind of my question too. Do you feel like your conversion was instantaneous, or do you think it was after more of a long, protracted wooing process by the Holy Spirit?
I think that my saving for me was instantaneous, but I think that like when Paul's converted, right? So now he's blind. He goes to the straight road. I forget the story exactly, but he basically, the bottom line is he's blinded. He gets hit by a spiritual bus, and then he goes and he puts pieces together for a while, meets with people. He's blind for a while. I mean, these things happen, and I would say my experience was much like that, where I didn't really learn how to use these gifts and what they meant for a time after. So in the wake of it. I think.
Well, prior to that, did you feel some calling that you was just rejecting and walking away from? And then this bus hit you?
Right.
Or did the bus just hit you out of the blue?
No, I think as you look back, you can see. Yeah.
You were being wooed.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Yeah, that was my case too.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. Dr. Nate Noble is our guest today. He's a pediatrician with Methodist with Blank Children's Hospital. Now, you mentioned something about your family.
Yeah.
So you have a bride?
I do.
Her name is?
Heather.
And what's the best thing about Heather?
I would say, and I say this in all sincerity, that the greatest single reminder to me of the depth of God's goodness and grace on this earth, available to us as His children. I am reminded of that and see that in my bride.
So you married up?
Yes, I did.
And the worst thing about her? You can plead the fifth should you feel the need.
Man, I just choose not to think in those terms.
And how many children?
I have 4 kids.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You're older than you look.
I'm older than I feel.
Yeah. How old are your kids?
Judah is 8, Ezra is 6, and Ayla is 3.5, and Naya is almost 14 months.
Are you done?
We are done.
Okay. And did you decide that, or did she?
I think we agree.
We agree?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Good. That's great. Okay, so how did you meet your bride?
It was after college. We worked at a Bible camp together. I was the program director. She was this super hot assistant program director, but we did not get along at all. And for some reason that I didn't think that was going to work out. I mean, because it's like you want sparks to fly, and she liked the fact that I would tell her how it was going to be. Like, she liked that you push back, and nope, not doing that. And that's what it was. I was like, wow, I've not used that approach before.
So she was a pretty tough lady.
Yes.
And she wasn't used to somebody pushing back.
Nope. Well, I mean, I think that she was looking for that.
Okay. Sure.
You know what I mean? Somebody wouldn't just be like, yeah, whatever you want.
Every person who's a type A personality who has the Holy Spirit wants somebody to push back.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Now if you're a type A without the Holy Spirit, you don't want anybody anywhere close to pushing back.
Yeah, I think that's true.
So, tell me the thing. Tell me the story that's in the Bible that still just brings tears to your eyes, still just captivates you.
Yep. It's the raising of Lazarus.
Okay.
I mean, I can barely.
As a doctor.
Yep.
That's pretty tough to understand.
Yes. And here's what it is. So when God kind of did His thing with me and set my path in a different direction, I'd kicked around. Do I do medicine, or do I do seminary, or what do I do here? And obviously I made my choice, and there were days in medical school residency fellowships where I wondered if that was the right choice. Because the thing about medicine, not unlike everyone, but for example, something difficult comes in our lives. If you're a typical person, you live in the suburbs, you drive to work at downtown, something horrible is going to happen to you. Right? On average, maybe every year, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's different for everybody. But the truth of the matter is it's not frequent, right? I mean, it is, but it isn't, okay? But then I'm in a situation where I put my shoes on, I walk into a clinic, into what is some people's worst situation. And I will do that at 8, at 10, at noon, at 1, and at 3, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't have the opportunity to be blissfully naive about what's happening in this world. Does that make sense? Like, yeah. I have no choice. Yeah. I face it every 2 hours. You
have a bad day every 2 hours.
Every 2 hours. And it's a wonderful thing, and I love it, but the truth of the matter is that that's difficult to do. And it's not as easy. If I was sitting in a seminary class and we were talking about suffering, and we were talking about earthquakes and tsunamis and famine and suffering and senseless tragedy, fine. But when you see it every day, all day long, and I love it, and the families that were listening to me talk, I think they would know that I do love them and I care deeply. But it's hard to know what to do with that. Right? You can talk about Calvinism and spin that to the sovereignty of God, or you can talk about, well, God's just really sorry and drives around an ambulance. Oh no, I didn't know you fell down. Yeah. You know what I mean? You can put it in any box you want. None of those work, I don't think. Okay? But I'm having to deal with this, and I come to the death of Lazarus. Because what do I feel? You want to bubble down what I feel in terms of our world and the suffering and the things that I see these kids and families walk through. You want to bubble it down, it's rage. That's what I feel. And I grew in a faith system where, you're discipled a certain way, you read certain books, blah, 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 blah. And you come to a point where that just runs out of gas. When you find out that John Piper did not write one of the books of the Bible, you're like, what?
Yeah.
Really? Are you sure? You know what I mean? And nothing against him. His ministry is a blessing, but you get sold a bill of goods when you get discipled in this world. So Jesus comes to the tomb, sees Lazarus has been buried. He knows he's going to raise him. He knows. So why is he so mad? Right? If you listen to Tim Keller preach on this, he sums it up so beautifully when he says he's angry not because he doesn't know the end of this story. He's angry because this is only one funeral he's going to stop. He's not going to stop yours.
Yeah.
He's not going to stop mine. He's not going to stop some of these kids that I've seen die. He's not going to show up and be like, hey, I'm going to stop this. And he knows it. He knows it. He knows he's not. He's not mad that Lazarus is dead. He's mad because I'm going to die. I have to. My body is going to cease. And when I see a God who's beside himself, because he's seeing the same things I see every day, and he doesn't hide from it, he doesn't skirt around it, doesn't put a theological bumper sticker on it to try and make us feel better, I'm interested.
Dr. Nate Noble is our guest. That's awesome. We've got one more segment with him, and then later on I'm going to introduce you to Tim Denner, who's got a Christian concert coming to town tomorrow afternoon at Freedom for Youth, free of charge for you and your family. We'll talk about that. As we continue on a Friday, it's live here on The View from a Pew on KTIA, Iowa.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershad.
I'm administrative manager.
I'm the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's gotta be, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're gonna do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's gonna be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're gonna do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed right or it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you gonna say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're gonna be listening. They're gonna wanna know what your challenges are. Then they're gonna come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you know, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me. But is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed right or it's free or 100% money back.
Enough said.
We're the ones in the pew, not pulpit. Come on now, let's reason together. The phone lines are open, so call 855-244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
Okay, 22 before the top. Couple more minutes here with Dr. Nate Noble. We will have him back. What a great answer he just gave about the story of the rising of Lazarus. Never heard it put that way. That's an original. That's awesome. Unpack this for me. Okay, so the devil, Satan, whatever you want to call him, I call him the accuser because that's how he attacks me. Okay? He accuses me of being a lousy father, a lousy husband, a lousy son, a lousy, not a good enough Christian, not worthy of standing before a risen king, etc., etc. So one of the questions I always like to ask either an unbeliever or someone who's lukewarm in the middle is, do you, Nate Noble, have a relationship with the accuser?
What I would tell you is that my experience has been that I give the accuser a tremendous amount of permission to do things by buying what he's selling.
Okay.
Because, I mean, in my experience, in terms of the thoughts that come into our hearts and our minds, we have choices. Some of which we say, hey, you know what? I am a piece of garbage. Why don't you come on and sit down? You want something to drink? I got a fire going. Right? We do that.
Right.
We do that all the time. You know what? You're right. I am stressed. I do deserve this. Right? And that's just us agreeing. So do I have a relationship in a business sense? Yeah, I buy what he sells. Sure.
Okay.
Sure I do.
Okay.
There's an exchange of currency. Unfortunately, it ends with sorrow, but yeah, I'd be lying if I said I didn't give him plenty of permission.
How is that relationship different today before, and this is the way my term is, when Jesus mugged me. Because I had a microwave moment. And Jesus walked into my life and boom, and nothing has ever been the same. Now, he has been qualifying me for several years now. But he called me that moment, and I don't know if I had a choice. I don't think I did. So how has that relationship with the accuser changed before and then now?
I think that there's different ways to buy. There's different ways to buy a Rolex watch. It turns out. You can buy it from a guy on a street corner, and it says Rolex, right? But you notice that the second hand is not continuous in its motion. Or you can go and do Joseph's, and assuming they have them, and you can buy it from them, and you just get the sense of, you paid a little bit more. This feels better. The real McCoy.
Yeah.
Right? And so I would say that while I still buy, I still get chintzy. I still I can get the same thing. In general, I think that I tend to look more for quality. I spend a lot more time in Joseph's these days.
Dr. Nate Noble is our guest today. Frank?
Would you kind of describe that process that you're going through as sanctification?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's a fair way to say it. Yeah.
Have you ever heard of a book called The Barbarian Way?
Yes.
That's the one I was trying to think of before.
Yes. I have. I believe I've read that. Yeah.
Okay. Short little book.
Yeah.
Guy starts out talking about Braveheart.
Yep. Erwin McManus.
Yes. Erwin McManus.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
I see you as the barbarian way. I see you as a man who is rejecting that. One of the questions I ask here to a pastor is, your church a cruise ship or a battleship? And even though they would like to always tell me it's a battleship, the point is most of them are cruise ships.
Yeah.
And those of us who live a barbarian relationship with Jesus, we would say, oh my gosh, no.
Right.
Ours is a battleship from day one.
Yeah, I just had this conversation with my bride. I said, Heather, imagine we're standing on the shore and we're going to sail to England, and we have two choices of ships. One is a ship that's clearly been around the world, right? I mean, it's been beat up. It's been waved, and it is weathered. And then another one that's brand new, right? Which one do we get on, Heather? Which one's most likely to get us there? Well, most people, it seems, when I want to present myself as a Christian to you, I want you to see a new ship. I got it together, man. Family's great, discipling my kids, doing my quiet time. Things are stinking awesome. But let me tell you what, if I'm going to get my family on a ship that's going to get me across the ocean, I'm getting on the old one.
Yep.
So when you come to my house, what are you going to see? You're going to see disaster sometimes. You're going to see me yell at my kids. You're going to see me lose my cool. You're not going to see me lead a perfect family Bible study. But the point is, just like Jesus outside of Lazarus' tomb, I'm not trying to sell you a brand new Toyota Sienna. I'm trying to help you understand that that's not what's going to get me to the end, man. That ship was able to stand up against the waves because it's made of something that you can't see.
Yeah.
Something tough, something strong, something that's not clean, not perfect.
What's the thing about religion, church, worship, mainline worship that you think we've really missed the boat? We've really missed the target.
Well, I have to credit my brother's, guy in my Bible study, Brad Jorgensen, brought this up this morning. He said what's missing in this culture and what's most valuable is our willingness to be vulnerable.
Okay.
Why don't I raise my hands? Why do I struggle to pray in depth with my wife and my children? I'll tell you why. Because I don't like being vulnerable. Because I didn't get to this chair being vulnerable. But when I speak to men's groups, when I'm here with you guys, I never know what's going to happen. Like, I could pull Jesus in Lazarus' tomb and just freak out and start bawling at any time. Like, that happens a lot. But if I had to say what's missing is that people aren't vulnerable. My ship is messed up. It looks like it won't make the trip. It will. Right? But we're too busy trying to clean it up, make it look right, make it look good. People raise their hands. You know why they do it? Because they know they know they got nothing.
Yeah.
So I got to keep my hands closed. I'm not holding anything in there anyways. I got nothing.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's the definition of a true worshiper, but the truth of the matter is, I would rather spend 5 minutes completely vulnerable with somebody and bleed, right? Spiritually exsanguinate all over the floor and be honest about how hard this is, than exchange pleasantries, phone numbers, and meaningless prayer requests.
Yeah, isn't that so much of what modern religion is?
Yeah, to an extent, and not to criticize. Don't take that in the spirit that's given. I don't mean to criticize,
Right.
but the truth of the matter is, that's what we've deduced this great God down to.
Yeah.
Declaw, defang.
Yeah.
You know?
You know Dr. Larry Baker?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
He's in my men's group.
Yeah.
So we're
He's a
walking
stud.
we're walking into church at 6 a.m. the other day, and he said, "So how are you?" Well, I'm trying in my life to answer questions like that honestly, and only because when I ask people, I want to be prepared for the real answer.
They really don't want the answer.
So I happened to say to Larry Baker, "Well, I haven't been feeling very good lately. I've got this thing in my throat." Well, Larry Baker's the head of emergency medicine at Unity Point, and he began to examine me as we walked into the back door of church.
That's hilarious.
And I'm starting to say to people, "Hey, how are you?
Right. Yeah.
What's the pain on the top of your heart right now? I want you to share that with me."
But are most people really prepared to get the answer?
I think they're prepared to give them the answer. I just don't think they're prepared to give permission. Okay. No, I'm sorry. Back up. I think they're prepared to give the answer. I don't think people give them permission.
Yeah.
I think, "Hey, Frank, how are you?" "I'm good, Mac. How are you?" is how we expect it to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, how are you? How are things going with you and your wife? You know, tough week.
Yeah.
Tough week.
Right.
Rather than,
right.
"Oh, perfect.
Yep.
You know, we're the good little Christian family.
Right.
See you in church.
Right.
Can I pray for you?"
Right. And it's like that in essence is the tension that I think, and I'm not alone, and I'm not better. Like I seek out vulnerability. I seek out authentic relationships.
Yeah.
Because I'm done trying to convince you that my ship is brand new.
Right.
It doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, Pew Research has said that every man has 0.7 men.
Right.
7 men, not 7 point. 0.7. So not even a whole man they can call in the middle of the night. And what makes you and I that type of relationship is vulnerability.
Yeah, that's it. The guys that I fellowship with, that's it. Like we don't have time.
But that goes across the grain of men.
It does.
But not men who love Jesus.
No.
Because Jesus was always vulnerable. Nate, thanks.
Yeah.
For being
thanks
here.
for having me.
I look forward to having you back again. And Ed Nichols is just one of my favorite people, and I know he's one of yours. And Brent Westman and these guys love him.
Yeah.
So thanks for taking the time to be with us.
Yeah.
Tim Denner's coming in. Big free Christian concert this weekend at Freedom for Youth. Where is it? What is it? We'll talk about it next live here on KTIA.
Metro Boys are everywhere.
Visit emetroford.com for your guaranteed credit approval. Good credit, bad credit, no credit. Everybody drives with guaranteed credit approval at emetroford.com. Visit emetroford.com today.
Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places. Especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart. And it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you.
Hey, what's wrong? Logan wants Let's Rock Elmo for his birthday, but since Steve lost his job, I don't think we can afford it. What did you do for money last year when you and John were struggling to make ends meet?
My secret? I went to Me and Mommy to Be. We sold all of Megan and Ryan's clothes and toys there. They give back the highest percentage on their items in the area, and it was so easy.
Megan's clothes? She's 15.
Yes, they can sign newborn through trendy teens. We're not struggling now, but I'm gonna keep saving and making money at Me and Mommy to Be.
We've got questions. You've got the answer. Join the conversation. It's your voice we want to hear. So call 855-244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
All right, 10 before the top. Let's go straight to the phones. I've got two gentlemen in my studio. Tim Danner, I know you. Who's this cat?
Gallery Cat.
Gallery Cat?
Yes, sir.
Seriously? Your name's Cat?
Seriously, Gallery Cat.
Oh, I didn't know. Did I know? I didn't know.
You didn't know.
All right, who's on the phone with me?
Ted Bruin.
Ted, are you there?
Yes, sir.
All right, Ted. Ted, you're the founder of this thing. Tell me what's going to happen at Freedom for Youth tomorrow from 4 o'clock on in the evening.
Well, tomorrow at 4 o'clock, your community will be invaded by a group of extreme sports athletes and musical artists who tour around the world using their music to demonstrate the love of God and to have an impact on the community and to have a good time, to celebrate the community and the people who are there, to demonstrate to them that there's a God who has created them and they're fearfully and wonderfully made.
And Ted, this is your brainchild. Where did this come from?
Well, I like to think that the Holy Spirit, gives us this vision. We're kind of all stewards of it. I was the kid who sat alone in the lunchroom, right? The outcast kid, but I was raised in the church. Most of my outcast experience, unfortunately, was in the church. It was in private school and in youth groups and things like that. And for me, life was pretty lonely. And the imaginary friends, I suppose, that I conjured up for myself were based on these Christian musicians that I listened to on the radio or the CDs that, I got for my birthday or for Christmas or whatever. And I imagine them to be these warriors who no doubt, if they saw me in my distress and need, they would be my friends. They would be my brothers and sisters. I was surrounded by brothers and sisters officially, but the artists, there was something in their music that spoke to me in a way and connected with me, and I just imagined that meant that the warriors who wrote those songs and were singing them, they must be the real thing. Like the love that we read about in Scripture, it must really be being carried by these ambassadors for the kingdom of God.
Now, I forgot. I failed to ask you, what's the name of this gathering?
Oh, it's called the Extreme Tour.
And it's got both athletes and Christian musicians.
That's correct.
And this is going to be at, for those of you that are local, this is at Freedom for Youth, which is Hickman and Martin Luther King. About a block to the west, there's an old car wash that's being converted into a staging area, free of charge.
Yep.
Everybody come. Obviously, no alcohol served.
No, but we are going to have free food and drinks.
All right. How many bands?
7.
7.
Yeah, 7 acts. 7 acts are total.
And they're all Christian acts.
They're all Christian acts.
And what band do you play in, Cat?
I'm a hip hop artist. I go by Gallery Cat. I do an acoustic hip hop set, or I might be doing a track set. I'm not sure yet, but we kind of play it by ear. But I play in a hip hop group.
Okay, I'm gonna catch you off guard. Can you do a little rap from one of your favorite songs?
From one of my favorite songs
that you may do this weekend?
All right. I'll do one from This Goes Out. It's a verse. I'll do a verse, not the entire thing. But I'll do the last verse, and this is kind of so you can understand along the lines. Well, this is to the mother of the daughter who held your hand to say it's been a month now, and it's obvious I'm late. I'm about to be a mother, and the father, well, it's Ray. You see, we talked about it. He bought a ring, now we're engaged. That's why I came to you, because I was hoping you could pray that God would watch my child and everything would be okay. But instead you got mad. That's when you went into a rage. You said, let me take a pause and see if I can get this straight. You're telling me you're pregnant, and now you are engaged to a boy you met at school. Did you say his name was Ray? Well, did Ray know you just turned 17, and did Ray know about all your hopes and dreams? I didn't think so. Now you say he's 2 years older. Does Ray have a last name? Oh, you telling me it's Sosa? Well, I'm about to call the cops because you and Ray are over. She started screaming, Mom, please don't do this. I really love that man and I never want to lose him. But you smacked her in the face as you told her to quit it. And the very next day, you marched her right into the clinic. You went in as 3, came out as 2. 1 was left for dead, and it was all because of you. See, your girl should be a mom and Ray should be a father. Instead, he's just an inmate with the cell number. And every now and then he tries to write to say he loves her, but for some reason she never gets those letters. Now I wonder, what would have happened if you took the time to pray? She'd be glad to be a mom and a wife instead of being down, depressed, and hating her life. And as for Ray, the only letter reaching her sight was the letter that read, Ray committed suicide. Now she's mad at the world and she's hating God. And every single night she wished this pain would stop. So she grabs a gun and puts it to her head. Instead of 1, we got 3 of God's children dead. So this goes out to all the people I've offended. I don't apologize for these words that I've been spitting. I'm here to bring the truth and stick it to you like a staple. Even Jesus got mad and knocked down a few tables. And basically that song is just talking to those who have been hurt. Those who have been hurt and found in a way.
Did you write that?
Yes, I wrote that.
Brother, that was amazing.
Oh, well, thank
I
you.
got tears in my eyes. That was just incredible. Good job. Where did that come from?
Well, to be honest with you, years ago I played in a worship band. I played with a guy named Sean Carter, and I wrote a rap interlude to a cover song that we were doing, and we were asked to play. That's when I started doing the Christian rap outside of my worship band. Excuse me, and I got asked to play at a church, and they asked me to play these 2 songs. They said, "Could you do some songs?" And I brought 3 with me, and that was the newest one that I had written. And when I was sound checking with that song, and the pastor asked me not to play that song, and I didn't understand. I said, okay, that's fine. It doesn't matter to me. I'm here to serve. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. I got done doing the 2 rap songs or whatever that I had, and the crowd started saying, do one more, do one more, do one more. And I didn't. I looked, I was like, I only have one more song, and I was asked not to do it. And the pastor kind of gave me the nod of go ahead and do it. So I did the song. And afterwards, I'm out in the back at the merch table, and this girl comes up to me, and she's just tears in her eyes, and she goes, I don't know who you're talking to or what gave you the right. Like, I don't know who you think you are coming in and just putting my business on the street. And I was just like, excuse me, my name's Angelo. Nice to meet you. I didn't mean to, I don't know what you're talking about. I've never been here. You know, we were just asked to come and play an event here. And she begins to tell me the story of how when she turned 17, she got pregnant. And when she got pregnant, her mother told her, I'm gonna make your life hell until you get an abortion or until you miscarry. Then I later found out her boyfriend's name was Ray Sosa, who was arrested and put in suicide watch. Insane story.
God story.
A God story, yes.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And like I said, I'd love to tell you guys more about it. I know we're running out of time. Let me reiterate. Extreme Tour 2014, Des Moines, Iowa, 2301 Hickman Road, from 4 p.m. I'm not sure how late we go to, but we have free concert. Till 9 o'clock. From 4 to 9, we have hardcore, we have pop, we have hip hop, we have a band from Lithuania that's here on a missionary. They are amazing, one of the most amazing bands you'll ever see. It's prog rock. I mean, there is something for everybody here at this event. But most importantly, we have the love of God is what you're going to experience, and it's going to be done in a way that you've never experienced. It's not going to feel like a church event. It's going to feel like a rock and roll event. And then all of a sudden, you're going to realize that the love of God has been on it the whole time.
Ted, thank you very much for putting this thing together. We appreciate you and we love you.
Thank you very much for having us, and God bless you guys. We're happy to stand with you all in your community.
And Tim, thanks for putting this together.
Absolutely, thank you.
You're an amazing guy. I wish we had more time. We don't. That was incredible, dude. Just incredible. All right, I'm Mac. Listen, I want you to think of somebody you can't stand, somebody you hate, somebody you've sworn. Before you hear my voice again on Monday, I want you to get down on your knees and I want you to ask for forgiveness. And I want you to forgive that man. And I want you to be forgiven the way you forgive him. It's time to end the hatred, okay? Please pray.